So how have you been, Declan? How's the smoking going?
Um,
Or not going is what I'm really interested in.
yeah, it's been really interesting, Vince. Um, I'm okay. It's a remarkable thing. Um, last Saturday when I think I was talking about the fear of putting down the vape pipe and how that was, the story was just overwhelming. It was completely well. I put the vape pipe down well, for a few like since I think it was Tuesday. It's in the cupboard just behind the screen. I've just remembered.
Right.
and it just seemed to happen kind of, if I say organically, that's the best way I can
Yeah, yeah,
describe it. I was just thinking, okay, you don't have vape or don't vape, but just feel the sensation and just see where that goes. And I've got a nicotine patch and some kind of a spray thing as well. And I got obsessed with it and just thought, oh, you're going to get hooked on the spray. But, you know, it's been really interesting. It's been a few days at least, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So say this is the fourth day when I haven't touched the vape and I haven't had it with me,
right.
which is a real security thing for me. It's like kind of I leave the
Yeah,
apartment in the morning and it's
yeah,
like glasses vape.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can get,
absolutely.
and if any of those are missing, then there's a problem. And yeah, it's I'm trying not to get too hooked on victory and defeat or anything like that, but it's and there's a constant the story now, there's a constant sense of something missing. That's the funny,
Mhm.
that's the funny thing. It's like, oh, it's a shame,
Yeah,
you know, have your
yeah,
your treat with your tea and whatnot. But the really, really weird thing compared to all the stories last week, Vince, is that I can't say it's been that hard.
mm.
I mean, I can't say it's been easy. I can't say it's been hard. It just seems to have
It's just happened. Yeah, yeah,
just happened, and
excellent.
who
Yeah.
knows, I hope if I start again during the week, I'm brave enough to come in the car and say, oops, I started again. But so far, so vapes in the cupboard. So it's been,
Yeah.
but the stories are hilarious. I mean, they're not, they're quite dark, some of them, but
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I,
yeah, but it's funny that they're there, kind of thing, or
yeah,
or the
yeah,
perspective. Yeah, got it. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's never just the nicotine. That's your dependency involved all sorts of things, including the physical act, holding it in your hand, putting it to your mouth, just knowing it was there. All sorts of. It's incredibly complex, this stuff. And what in 4 days, that's amazing because what's happened is new pathways are getting written down in your brain. Old pathways are atrophying. It's a big deal, man. Really big deal. I am so pleased to hear this. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's important.
Next thing you'll realize is that you've just forgotten about it. It's just like a new normal has turned up. Yeah.
yeah, that I can't help looking forward to that. I'm trying not
Yeah.
to look forward to
Yeah.
it. It's
It'll
kind of
happen.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe, yeah. But it's the whole thing of just before this call, Vince. Just before this call, it wasn't like yeah, it was a big craving because it was like before the call, I would have a big toke on my vape pipe to take away whatever anxiety I felt about doing this call.
Yep.
It's all of that. And Dan was talking to Alan about an hour ago, who and he was guiding me through some stuff. And I was saying the story is something missing. The sensation is something here that wants wants like either
Yeah, wants numbing or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's really fascinating looking at it from the story separate to the actual
Mm.
sensation. But thank you, Vince. I really appreciate that.
Hi, Vince. Long time no see.
Yeah, Rod, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good.
Yeah.
I'm a bit sort of out of touch with your meetings nowadays, though. The times have kind of changed. Does this one take the part of the one that used to be in the evening for me on Saturday? Going
Yes.
back a bit.
Yeah. I can't remember. So your Saturday would be my Sunday. Uh,
Well, I'm not recognizing anyone on this meeting. I'm sort of thinking back to the days when we got sort of Kathy and Craig and a few other people like that.
oh, okay. That with Craig was there. That sounds like the fetter meeting. That
Yes,
was
that's
that was
right.
my Sunday morning. No, no, that still happens. I don't go to that anymore, but that's still there on my Sunday morning, which would be your Saturday evening, I imagine. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, what is this particular meeting that I've sort of ended up in today?
Well, yeah. It's very much, well, it's not particularly, it's not exclusively fetter oriented. You know, but it's essentially it's a support meeting for the same people, same people either seeking or finished seeking or half finished seeking or whatever. Um, yeah, call it what you like. Yeah, but people come and go. So over the time that, like 2 years ago, it was a whole lot of different people, and so it changes all the time. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Vince,
still
but
get
yeah,
I still get your I still get your emails, Vince, and I thought I got one probably yesterday, and I thought, oh, I'll give you a visit, but I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
sure what the meeting was. Anyway, it's
It's
great to
it's
see that you're still here doing your thing.
yeah. It's good stuff. You're in the right place. You'll contribute, I'm sure. Yeah. Just but just come and go as you please. It's good. Nice and relaxed.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm. So how's life been for you? Are you're buzzing along in
Yes, I sort of did 8 was the last thing I was on, and I got this very kind of strange effect from doing that I kind of like totally lost interest in anything spiritual,
mm,
which was rather weird. Anyway, I since then I've started a meditation group, um, which I'm sort of running, in the U3A thing that I was doing
yes,
before.
yep.
Still doing that. Um, and having tried, trying to teach meditation, I found that I don't actually really know much about meditation.
But
So
nobody does, mate. Nobody does.
anyway, I'm investigating that a bit more. There are some good books out there, actually. Lee Brassington does a great book on meditation, which covers the jhanas and all that kind of stuff as well. So anyway, if everyone's interested in studying up on meditation, that's a recommended book. Apart from that, not a lot happening.
Mm,
The so-called English summer isn't really happening yet. It's grey. It was grey and foggy and raining this morning.
right. Yeah. Is that normal for there this time of year?
It's usually better than this. Yeah, it's normally, kind of fairly sunny and whatever. And I'm looking out my window now and it's grey and there's a few bits of rain coming down the window.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. So did you what did you discover doing that eighth fetter work? Just for those who are not familiar with the eighth fetter, we're talking about the remnants of, or the sense of I am still existing.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
Some
I
refer
did it.
to it as the arrogance of it. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I did it in a rather unconventional way. I'd been working from Kevin Chanelek's materials.
Yep.
And anyway, I'm sort of studying all that stuff. Kept rereading it, and getting new bits of, sort of ideas or insights from reading it. Anyway, it was kind of like starting to make sense. Anyway, it was getting late, so I went to bed, like you do, and lying in bed. I'm thinking, oh well, yes, these what's going on? When it's all the five aggregates are all sort of doing their thing, So anyway, that sort of reminded me of the Heart Sutra. I don't know if you're familiar with the Heart Sutra. And where the guy who was the main guy in it was sort of said, oh yeah, he looks at all his aggregates and he couldn't find any self. So I followed that line, and strangely enough, it worked.
Right. And so what was your experience of that like?
Well, it was like being gone,
Right.
but like stuff was happening as normal, but it was the how to explain it, that the sort of any personal involvement in it was not there.
Right. Right.
And I mean, following from that, I suppose because of no personal involvement, I sort of completely stopped seeking.
Right. Yep. Yep. So you don't get triggered anymore?
Well, I am married. So I probably need to do a few more fetters in order to totally overcome that problem. But you know what I mean? Not really to any particular
Mm.
degree, but yeah, sometimes you're forced to have certain relationships by obligation, and you have to just sort of make the best of it, really.
Mm. So Lorraine has said, what did you say worked for you, Rod?
Well,
You
it's hard to say, really. I think I mean, one of the main things that was sort of coming up, that actually absolutely everything is mental construction.
Mhm.
And that was just becoming so evident, which I kind of made also I went through 7 in a slightly different way as well, in that I sort of got to the state where it was sort of absolutely convincing that there was nothing special. That makes sense. You know, including all categories you could think of, there was nothing special.
Right.
And of course, that's extended to consciousness as well. No special consciousness.
Hmm. It's hard to talk about, doesn't it? So
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to talk about, and you know, occasionally I get tempted to talk about such things in my meditation group, and don't have a clue what I'm talking about.
well, of course, you know, yeah, you'd need to be back at the first fetter there, I'd imagine. But okay, so
Yeah,
so what you say about, you know, we probably all of us here at least recognize at some level that there is no self. In, that's either intellectual or it's visceral, right? But you're saying that your experience was something a bit more. Um,
yes, it's obviously much different from the first fetter.
hmm,
You know, the first fetter was, oh well, I'm not sort of Rod. You know,
yeah.
that's
All right. So
uh,
let's put it a bit, you know, a bit more bluntly. You know, so in the first fetter, we can say we recognise there's no self here running the show. Right. So, you know, that self was a mental construction, but still we have experiences that is it what we might call a sense of self. You know, now
yes,
when you go through the eighth fetter, you're saying that sense of self just disappears. That essentially there is no remnant that is triggered that gives
yes,
you a sense of self.
yeah, it's sort of impersonal, really. Yeah, I mean, remember my first fetter wasn't. I didn't go the LU route or all that type of thing. Mine was just kind of spontaneous, unexpected, like out of the blue one, um, which it took me like 20 or 30 years to find out what it actually meant, because
Mm.
that was way back in the 80s, and I knew absolutely nothing about spirituality.
Hmm. Hmm.
All I knew was that the sort of self that I thought I was kind of gone. But that's very different from fetter 8.
Yeah. Yeah. So having experienced that, has it I don't quite know how to put this, has it enabled you in some way that you can help others with that?
It's given me more sort of impetus to do that, actually. And I mean, in fact, I did have that impetus as well when I went through fetter 1, but I didn't know, you know, like anything about it then, or what the hell was going on.
Mm.
Just like, I mean, that for me, fetter 1 was very like Eckhart Tolle um, describes his experience.
Mm. Well, you may have some insights about others. We'll see, eh?
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah,
good.
sure.
Yeah. How's things been for you, Scott?
Good, good.
I was listening to some of that conversation that you and I had at a previous meeting today, and really funny to hear myself yap on. It's I don't make as much sense when I'm listening back as what it seems like when I'm talking. But yeah, so I'm interested if you have you experienced anything different since our last meeting?
There, yeah, some additional stuff. To um asking for help. Like the first one was trust, and then this one, like,
Oh, yeah. Internet's breaking up. Yours or mine? Let me have a look.
I think it's Scotland's.
Mm.
okay. Are we here?
Yep, yep.
Okay. So I was asking it, like, I mean, it's an extended conversation, so it has my history. I just continue it, and I said it feels like it's either the same thing or related, and it just like went back and it just went through my explained to me where the stuff comes from and where how I developed some of these behavior patterns, and just connected the you know see I can't really have a hard time like bringing it all together, but connected uh the trust part with asking for help. It's kind of all interrelated, having to do with childhood dynamics, and like I'm aware that like there's no reason to go in and like pick apart all your childhood, but it sure did enlighten me not enlighten me, it sure did bring out a lot of reasons for certain behavior patterns, and brought stuff into the light.
So
It's like,
did that change them
huh?
when that came into the light for you? Did it change things for you?
It's only been a few days, but it seems like even this morning when I did the was it this morning or yesterday? I think it was yesterday when I did the second inquiry. Like I was in the gym this morning and I was starting to recognize, oh, I had that thought because of this support. Like so you just brought back some of it. Like so either I haven't seen through self or something, because there is an identity that I have, and it's I support people. I support people to add value and to have control. I kind of have to. I can't really be clear about it because it's not can't all bring it all in at once. But there's definitely an identity that I embody somehow. Like, and now, like I was in the gym. I saw this guy doing some exercises, and the thought came, oh, I should go over there and ask him if he wants me to help him do some negatives. And I was sitting there in the middle of doing exercise, and then I realized, oh, that's the support me. That's the me that wants to go offer help as a value. And I think it kind of like a lot of stuff seems to drop away. Like it's hard to tell because once it's gone, it's not really evident anymore, you know? Um, so anyway, when I did notice that behavior, then I did go back and say, look and see, is there a person? You know, is there some a self here who wants to help that person or who needs to increase their value or who needs to take control of something? And because it's a different I don't know, it just seemed like it was a good thing to do because it's like another room, one of Purnell's rooms, you know, that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Were you aware when you were doing that of where what was the actual pull for you? Not what originated that behavior, but rather the what was trying to be satisfied or achieved. Maybe achieved is a bit too strong, but what was the underlying attraction to doing that? Not nothing about where it came from, what the original conditioning was, but what was it? What was it attempting to do for you?
Like the thought train, you talk
Well,
like
that whole inclination to go and help, right? So we could say, okay, well that reveals the fact that there's an identification there. But what's the point of that? What's the purpose of that?
I don't know. I recognize him as somebody who's there all the time and he's in really good shape. I was watching him do a certain exercise that other than maybe there's a desire for connection. I'm not sure, really.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
really don't
yeah.
know.
Right, okay. So you don't have to, you don't, it's fine to not know now, right? Okay. But what I'm saying is next time that urge turns up, it might be good to look at what you hope to get out of it, right? So it's a bit too superficial, surface level to say, oh, I want to help because it makes me feel good.
So
But
I think it's
this,
going to be validation.
right, okay.
I
So
think it's gonna be
so
validation. Yeah.
so get below the label of that and look at the feeling. Now, what would it feel like to feel invalidated or to feel validated? Where's that feeling in the body? That's the next step. But you have to wait till it happens to watch it.
Always center line, solar plexus. I can feel it. I mean, I can bring it
Well,
right up like it just happened.
okay. So, yeah, right.
See, like I used to just say, okay, everything stems from less than. And in a way it does. Like if
Mm.
seems like if I trace everything back, anything I can start anywhere. And if I trace it far enough back, it ends up at not enough or less than. But a
Okay, so
lot of the
that that
behaviors
that that explains it. What do we do about it?
I
Scott.
think shine the light on behaviors and stay with the feeling. I mean, that's what it's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. Well, that sounds pretty good to me. Yeah.
Scott,
Yes.
I don't know if this is relevant for you, but I would like to invite you to be mindful of when we um, identify a certain pattern and we say that, like you said now, it's basically everything comes from some kind of wound that you've spotted. And then from that moment on, it's very easy to look at all behaviors as if that comes from that wound. It's it's very tempting to describe every little thing that you're noticing and putting it in the box of that wound when it's actually the putting it in the box that is the identification. Do you get that?
I mean, I hear you. Like, there's a tendency every time a something is identified, there's a tendency for me to hyper focus on it, and then it fades, and then it seems like it peels a little bit of the onion, and then something else happens.
So who is the noticer? Who is the watcher?
Well, I can't find one, so
Well, if we look at what is trying to spot all of these selfing moments, what is trying to clean out house.
so I I this is a little different than what's happened before. Like, this kind of was like all came up from a spontaneous emotional outburst. Like, I'm just listening along, not really paying attention too much, and then boom, it hits me, and I have this spontaneous outburst. I get on the bot, I do a little inquiry, some stuff comes up, and then I just kind of like at a certain point, actually what I noticed was like I do the inquiry, I'm looking at the bot, I think about it a little bit, maybe talk to my girlfriend a little bit about it, bounce it back and forth, and then I put my phone down and I don't really want to deal with it anymore. Like, usually, like, the pattern has been where I just like leave it alone for the rest of the day usually, or maybe I don't know, not, I'm not like hyper focused on it. And then I just do my day, and I'll something will pop up, and it'll come into my awareness, and I'll go, oh, it's that. I'm not really I'm not, it feels different than like the pushing that I used to do.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know. I might
So
be missing something.
what? This is really interesting. What I heard Marius say, and I just, as soon as he started talking, I was grinning from ear to ear because I was thinking to myself, I know what he's going to say, and anyway, I want to say it a bit differently to the way he said it, right? But did you hear Rod when he was talking about fetter 8 stuff? Right. So it perhaps wasn't really clear, but essentially, there's no one there running the show, right? That's clear. All right. So Fetter 1's out of the road, but Fetter 8 is this impression of an
That I am.
existence of an I. Yes, it's just an impression. It's a subtle impression. Now here's the thing. What Marius was saying was that what you were doing was actually creating an I. You're when you're looking, so we're at a level deeper than the level that says that there's no I there, right? But what we're at is that level where there is this impression of existence. There must be I exist, and it's that level of identification. It's much more subtle, but it's not always there. It comes and goes. And when you start looking like you're looking, you actually create one to do the looking. It's yeah, we're at a really subtle level now. It's not a big gross one where there's obviously no I running the show. This is still a sense of identity. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, and you can hardly even talk about it. It's just so subtle. So when you go looking at these things, when it happens that you find yourself looking or whatever, look for that impression of somebody who's doing it. Right? You can reach a point where the doing happens and there's absolutely nobody there doing it.
I'm overwhelmed. Like, really, I just feel like overwhelmed.
Good, because there's nowhere you can go and nothing you can do. That's right, exactly.
The mind can't go anywhere from there, Scott. That's why you're feeling overwhelmed.
Can I just add something to this, Vince? Just there's a kind of a background assumption that can be going on all the time when you're looking for a self, that there actually could be anything called, with an identity. That's I think a concept that we have to disabuse ourselves of. There's any kind of identity is only a concept.
The phrase that keeps coming up on my mind is, "I don't know what to do."
Great. Oh, that's fantastic. Yes. It kind of can present itself as a helplessness for sure. Yeah. But it's kind of hopefully that'll evolve into a really willing helplessness, freedom in helplessness, and it'll just, whatever. Anyway, just be overwhelmed. Just stay in that state. That's great.
Mm.
Thank you.
I think that the fact I don't know what to do is okay without the assumption that comes before it, that there is something that you actually can do. So then it's like just a fact, because you really cannot do, but you believe that you can, and then it's helplessness.
I mean, I think the reason it seemed very funny to me was that I knew there's nothing to do, but yet the phrase
Yeah.
just comes up, and it's like,
Yeah. If I've got it right, this particular and it's only because Rod's here that I'm focusing on this fetter thing a bit, but I've heard it described as the arrogance of believing that you exist. as a way of describing this particular kind of level of identification. And so it's that kind of puts it there, you know, like, whew, to have arrogance, you know, is as strong as an identification as you can get, I guess.
It's in sort of Buddhism they call it the conceit.
Conceit. Okay, yes. Well, I made up the word arrogant, I suppose. Yes.
It's very near, but it's very near, isn't it, really?
So it's the last vestige of specialness.
Yes.
And remembering the conversation we had at the last meeting, and I told you, you're not special, you're just ordinary. I can remember saying that to you.
Well, ordinary is a special kind of specialness.
Yeah.
Also recognize, Scott, that, you know, the subtle noticer or actively noticer is the kind of the one of the most subtle ways for the mind to grasp onto something, to kind of feel safe. If it doesn't have anything to grasp onto, it's just falling forever.
It just keeps trying to imagine.
Yeah.
It wants to imagine. It's trying to imagine not being, trying to imagine the concepts, you know, that have come across my
And
attention.
that's the struggle. That is the final grasping of something trying to stay in existence. How can anything imagine not being there? It's not possible, is it? You can't imagine not existing.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been possible so far.
Mm. But you will experience it when it happens.
It's the
Trying,
imagination that creates the sense of existence.
right? I can feel something trying to create a problem, turn this into a problem.
Yeah. It's like the drowning person. It's going to do anything it can grab hold of, it will attempt to. And that's fine. And then I run out of words. I want to say just watch it, but that's the wrong. That's not right. But it's fine is right. Everything is fine.
The phrase "take no action" is coming up for some reason. I don't know if it's not my brain or
Yep, that's right. Just passivity. So a great analogy is when the caterpillar turns to mush before it emerges as a butterfly. Well, hopefully your brain is that pool of mush right now.
And has burned a picture of the butterfly. Because that's something you can project into the future.
Hmm. I don't trust that something will happen if I don't. That's crazy. Nothing needs to happen. Yeah, it just keeps pulling me into like little false. Oh yeah. It wants me to do. It wants me to like take control. Yeah, little tiny bits of it.
Yes, and I experience this sensation actually really physically. Like there is a sensation that something have to be in a specific way, and but the sensation itself is just flowing in space that like you can have the sensation of struggle and not uh, struggle with it in a way because I don't see that there is something that can be resolved. It's just as it is, and it will it may be dissolved or may not, and it's not something that we do. This is how it's seen here, at least.
Hmm. So instead of looking at what it wants to grab a hold of or what it's looking for, concentrate on it and watch it start to dissolve. The it that wants to grab a hold of, looking for, trying to find something, creating stories.
Yeah. Okay. Uh oh. That's doing. Uh-oh. I can feel it. It was that's hilarious. Like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me do that.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. Well, it's what we know, isn't it? Yeah.
More thought. Wow. Like I just had this feeling like it's a non-suicidal feeling of like wanting to destroy everything. Right.
What comes up here is that you're on the edge of the nothingness that is everything.
A little bit like walking on a tight wire, it seems like.
You could let yourself fall off.
Fallings, failure.
Can I ask a question around this stuff, or the fetter stuff? I looked, I studied the awakening curriculum. I think that's Peniel's stuff, about maybe a year ago, a little bit more. And yeah, I went just kind of listening to the videos, and I think doing the exercises with them. And I went through fetter 1, 2, and 3. And then I don't know if I've made this up, but I heard something at the start of 4 or the end of 3 that she said something like, don't go any further till you've seen through the self, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, that hasn't really happened, so I'll stop there. And I don't know if it's a silly question, but it around the doing stuff, like I think my ego is always looking for something to do, around awakening or seeing through the self or self-improvement, whatever. And I've tried to maybe relax a little bit away from that and just kind of see what happens with this call and talking to Alan and doing meditation. I am doing quite a lot because I want to. I don't know, it's just a feeling that there's something here. And there's a big ego part that wants to kind of figure out what other people have figured out, or there's that kind of like, oh, I want to get in the club as well. But I've thought the last few months about looking at the awakening curriculum again and just going back to the first fetter and just listening again and seeing what's there. But I wonder if that's just a diversion of kind of filling my time with things to do rather than just I don't know what.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Then can I just say that I had exactly the same experience. I did, and I got to fetter 4, and I did actually try some of there's 3 inquiries, and I just got to a block. Just thought, this doesn't, yeah. And I do remember the message about it's not linear, it's not going back a step, and I took that on board, and I've just done it in a very relaxed way. Like it's almost like curriculum's too academic. It's
yeah.
use it like and so what happened is instead of I have to do blah blah blah, it's just sometimes it occurs to me to go and listen to a fetter 2 or and what I've and it just came to me, go and listen to that, go and listen to that inquiry again. And it's about once. It's looking at, before you want something and then after you want, after you've got it. And for me, it was just a really gentle, as I was living life, like, and what occurred more and more is that sensation of, and I'm using the bot as well, actually, in combination of in touch with the feeling of a want. And just on a side note, I've actually saved a fortune over the last month of doing that because it's just really interesting. Like the want comes with a sensation, it comes with stories, and it comes with a justification. So it's been really interesting getting into that because it's the pinnacle of quite a lot of it's pinnacle of most of my day, I would say, whether it's food or shopping or to get away from a sensation or a feeling, or yeah, it's kind of key. And so I was going backwards and forwards, and I'm just in the process of helping Penelope put the fetters, the curriculum on a course program on a platform, and I've chosen fetter 4, and so I'm revisiting it in a different format. And yeah, it's really quite powerful. So it's more that follow the intuition. That's just, it's a suggestion. Just if you just feel a little inclination to go and try the inquiry, if it doesn't, if you still hit a nothing, then yeah. But it's yeah, I don't want to say what to do, but I just recognized what you said in my experience as well. Yeah.
so funny, Louise. You don't want to say what to do. I'm like, no, you need to tell me what to do. Like, but that's really useful, because I remember now when I was looking at the fetters, and he'll say it's not linear, like it's something else. But my head says no, it's 1, 2, 3, and you do them properly, otherwise you don't. You know, like, and yeah, it's really useful. Thank you, Louise. Thank you.
The way that this works is that it likes a guideline. It does like some guidelines. So they're like it's like stabilizers, isn't it? It's like stabilizers. You just take them off when you're ready, and maybe you have to put them back on again. And yeah.
It's interesting too. So if we just put this into a bit of context, you've got what Rod mentioned, Kevin Shanelek. Now Kevin was probably the person who deciphered, probably be the best word I could come up with, the fetters. So the fetters are not really Buddhist now, but they do come out of somewhere over there, something, I'm not sure what. But Kevin worked out what they were about and did it himself, and he put them into, and so he created this really finite structure, if you like, of fetter 1, fetter 2, fetter 3, etc. Right, and so he's got a website, and he does a really good job of explaining that. Okay, and then some other people have used that and have developed their own versions of that. Right, so there's a lady called Christiana. She's a German lady, and she's really very German in her attitude and very structured, and really it has to be that you definitely know you've broken fetter 1 before you go on to fetter 2, etc. And so it's really a big important thing for her, like that. And then you get Pernilla, and Pernilla's, you almost wouldn't call them fetters with Pernilla, right? She uses them as a guideline, but she's much more trauma-based in her way of describing things. And that, I resonate with that. That makes a lot more sense for me than this other structured thing. But I had the experience of 14 years, 13 years or something of experience that I would describe as after the initial shift of waking up, and I didn't do it through LU either, so my portal wasn't seeing through self, but it was pretty obvious that self was just a story that I responded to when I was first asked about that. But anyway, regardless, so what I'm saying is that I like the way Pernilla does these kind of things. She does it. She's very good at it, very eloquent. She explains things really well. But every one of her videos is loaded with stuff. Really an incredible amount of information and stuff to look at with every single one of those things. Now, if we apply the structure just as an external framework over this kind of work, then it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly and pretty easily that if you see through the delusion that a self is there running the show, that one alone knocks out a whole lot of other delusions. And those other delusions are that we have control, that we can make decisions and have choices, etc., etc. So all of those things all rest on the delusion that there's somebody there to do it. So up to fetter 1, 2, and 3 is essentially about getting that fairly clear. Right? And then fetters 4 and 5, which are about desire and ill will, or desire and aversion, however you want to put it. Those are the things that when we talk about, we get triggered. We get triggered into wanting or triggered into not wanting. Right? Those are really references to remnants that we don't see when we break those first few fetters. So when we get them out of the road and we're no longer getting triggered, I find that a bit funny to think that that can exist, but certainly for those people who are into the fetters, they will work very hard to reach that point where they just don't get triggered anymore, either with wants or aversions. Then the next lot of fetters, the higher ones from 6, 7, 8 upwards up to 10, they're much more subtle, right? But the thing with the fetters is, it's a fucking trap. It's a big trap, because you want to know where you are on the scale. You want to be able to measure yourself. You want to know how much progress you're making, right? Well, guess what? That's probably fetter 1 stuff, wanting to know, or it's fetter 4 stuff, a desire, right? Or if you want to see it as an aversion to not knowing, it's fetter 5 stuff. And so you can see how all of these things all mix up. None of them, there's no clear one or the other. It's just a way of looking at things. That's all the fetters are, just a way of approaching what is. So again, it's a very intellectual thing too. So you've got to be really careful. You go, oh, hang on, we don't want to think about this. I want to know what's the experience, right? So then you get down to something where the fetters don't really come into play, because to have anything to do with the fetters, you've got to get up in your head. So I'd say forget about the fetters, but if your inclination is to go watch Penella, watch what she says, but you won't see more than just a reference to the fetters. It's the other stuff she talks about that's where the value is for you, and it is good stuff. But again, a lot of it is about explaining things, and this is where we're pushing Scott to get beyond the explanation down to what wants an explanation, what needs an explanation, or who, if you like, rather than what.
Thanks, Vince. I
But do
think
do trust your intuition. If your intuition says go do it, then go do it. Yeah. And you might find that your intuition says go do it, and you go doing it, and as soon as you're doing it, you go, well, hang on, you know what? I realise this is not where I want to be. So who knows what the outcome of anything is? But chase your intuition is a great guide. It will direct you in the right way. Trust your body, don't trust your mind.
My perspective on the fetters is that it's a huge trap, as Vince says. There's almost 100% chance that the mind is going to turn it into something to do. But I haven't really used the fetters a whole lot, but the way I see it now is it perhaps can be a good tool to help you learn how to look. So you're not actually like doing the purpose of the curriculum, as I see it, isn't actually doing the stuff that they're talking about, but it's kind of training a way to observe and see what is going on in your own experience. And then up to some point, you need to kind of drop that, because you're kind of, the self can kind of train itself to hide under the actual looking, like we were just talking to Scott about. But if you find yourself, not knowing quite how to do inquiry or to kind of notice when you're doing selfing or stuff like that, perhaps it can be a good tool to kind of get into the groove that
Thanks, Marius. Thank you.
Mm.
I think that's when Scott was talking, you were talking to Scott. I think there was something really resonating there with like, oh, okay, like how subtle everything is, and sort of triggered the question. So thanks.
So it occurs to me, Declan, and take this how you like, whatever. I don't know what to say. Okay, you know that experience you had where you got surprised. Oh, you went, that look. Oh, it's really weird. It's like it just happened. I just somehow or other there was no doing involved, but I found it easy to leave the vape in the cupboard. Right? There's that. There's that mysterious. I can't find words for it. There's an emptiness. There's that experience. There's that weird emptiness that of non-presence that was involved in the non-happening. That was just the magic of you realizing that I didn't do anything, but there it is. Not not doing what was done before, not reaching for it, not needing it, whatever. There was still a craving. There was no need to act on it. There was, can you get this feeling of this full emptiness that was like a cloud that accompanied you for those days about that particular thing?
Yeah, I might be wrong here, Vince, but I think that's it. That full emptiness. Just echo your words because
Mm.
I can't describe.
Yeah, they don't do a good job either, but maybe you get a flavour, Yeah.
No, they're beautiful, but that full emptiness that I've felt sometimes or realized afterwards, that just happened. I think sorry. I think I'm often kind of craving that. It's like that's when the mind takes over and says, "Oh, you need to do A, B, C, D," and while you're at it, and it's not.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
well, use. I mean, I'm crying here. Use your experience
Hmm.
of those last few days to recognise that the doing part of it is total bullshit. It just happened, didn't it? And it took no effort, and and that's in you all the time. That's there underneath all this. What can I do? What do I have to do? Where am I going to get to? All of that stuff sits on top of that. That's already there. There's no self running the show, and there was a perfect example of it. It is a place of no words. It can't be described. It can't be. So it lives beyond the mind, because the mind can only exist with fabrication of words or images or whatever. And this place is beyond that. It has no substance, but it is really, really very fundamental to us all. And it is so fucking beautiful that, you know, the moment you touch it, you just burst into tears with joy and appreciation. It's just, you know, I know you've touched it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's whether it's touch or glimpse or hint, just it's like kind of ooh, but I take on board what you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah. If you can just remember, even just point your memory in the direction of that. You know, you've got that really substantial couple of days there where that's happened. It
Yeah.
lives, you know, all the other stuff's still there, but it doesn't touch that. That's and that can take you quickly into that place just by remembering it. And while you're there, if looking around happens, you see no self, no agent. There is just this. You're not missing anything. You don't have to go and learn anything. Have you been, Maya?
I just remembered Dennis from the other day, and as he said, I was just thinking you would call me up now, and there's no. He said I don't want to talk, but somehow, not that I don't want to talk, but I don't know. Listening to you, I wanted to say that watching Pernilla's videos. I'm not watching a lot lately. Maybe I would if I had more time, but I don't. But if it speaks to me, sometimes when I do, if something speaks to me, then I'm listening to it. If I hear words, but I don't feel anything, then I just conclude, oh, it's not for me. And I go, well, this is how I do things now.
Mm.
And then about the fetters, you said the first three, seeing through self. I remember me asking you, what does it mean, see through self? I still don't know. But then 4 and 5, when I think it's so easy. It's easy to look at once and don't once, because there is always a sensation and there's a story. It's easy to see them, but I wouldn't say I see through self, because I have no idea what it is. And somehow I'm too tired to try. And what is. And it's not a lot, but you see, having so much to do and having so many paperwork to do and doing this, doing that, running here, running there, it's such a good thing for not thinking.
Mm.
It's like if I played tennis now and someone threw 100 balls at once at me, I can only catch one or two, maybe two. All the others I just have to let go.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. More or less. There is still some tension about that. Yes, I would like something to be this way or something to be that way, but I can see that only as I can see that as well as some kind of tension and story about it.
Mm.
I do recognize it.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a really weird concept, this idea of seeing through self. And some people talk about the no self like it's a thing, which is a bit contradictory, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you see that what you used to take as a self really was just the response to a whole lot of stories you had about Maya?
I still don't know. But this don't know means actually I have no proof for things being otherwise.
Mm.
As if I'm still looking for some kind of proof for things being otherwise.
Mm.
Because there still is a belief that the self is somewhere there. I just haven't found it yet.
Right. Okay. So what you would describe as seeing through self is when that no longer interests you to look for that proof.
No, it would be like, I'm sure that there is no self. Not that there is no self, but that there is no self.
Mm. When you say when you're sure of that, if we examine that a little bit, in the old way of looking at things, we would say, I need some kind of knowledge that's
Yeah.
irrefutably true.
Yeah.
But whatever, any knowledge at all that you have is just secondhand information, is it not?
It is, but having the proof for me would be some kind of settled feeling,
Okay, yes,
like
yes,
being comfortable. When you're sure of something, you feel it inside. This would be it.
right, yes. So there's
Not
no,
about information, nothing, just me being completely calm and good and
yeah. I get a feeling of being
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So there is that feeling, and then we can speculate about what might support that feeling, where that feeling might come from. And for me personally, it's obvious that that's going to come from belief, something
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
You know what I have? I have a belief that everything will be a belief. Even when I'm sure that there's no self, now I have the belief that when
Yes.
someday, when I will be settled and calm and everything be sure,
Yep.
that this will be a belief,
Yes. I go
just a different one.
100%. I go along with that. Okay. And I also recognise that there's no possible way that I can change a belief consciously or with willpower or with anything. A belief can only change or appear or disappear for some unknown, really in undefined reason. It happens that a belief gets changed because something else resonates and pushes it out, maybe.
So it's just for me to sit and not wait, but forget about it.
Mm,
It will happen or it will not happen.
mm. That's ideal. Yeah, that's good.
Not even
Yeah,
to wait. Yeah.
yep.
And this is what I do actually now.
Yeah, good, good.
I come to meetings, I enjoy being with you. I love you all. This is such a good this is a feeling of being settled and feeling good and being sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure that I want to be here now.
yeah. I'm so glad you have that feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Uh, I would say
Like being
that
home. Like being home.
Mm,
like an option also is to like look at what is it that is believing or not believing, or what
Oh,
is
that's
it
a
that
hard one.
yeah that
Hard
I
one
like.
for me.
So if that's like that's the place where it goes from looking out to more and more possibilities, right? And the possibilities are endless. So in a kind of
Yeah.
scientific or philosophical level, we can always take another angle, right? When we go
Mm.
out, we can always take another angle. So the other option, and maybe it's interesting to look at this, it's hard for me. Maybe we can look at that. Because the other option to do that movement is, what is it, right? What is not sure? What is experiencing it as hard?
This is a hard one for me. I think I looked at this from so many angles, but there are more angles to look at, so I will find others as well. Yeah. I mean, I turned this question into so many forms. Who is looking?
Right.
Uh,
So already in that idea of many angles, there's already the story of you who is trying and doing it this way, right? Or
Yeah.
doing it this way, or finding another, right? So the other option would be to like be curious about what is trying that, or what is producing this now, right? It's like this very, very, very thin difference, right, between the experience that maybe is the experience you are having of somebody who is trying to do that and not succeeding, right, or trying it in all kinds of different ways and it doesn't work, and like a very, very thin step between that and then seeing how it just happens, right? Like
There's still this belief that someone is doing, despite everything I had recently, this thing with an earworm that I'm really I'm aware that I don't produce my thoughts, that they come by themselves. I know, okay, but there is still a part of it that believes it.
Is that the experience right now?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot
Well,
get rid of the entirety of it.
so if we take aside, so if first we slow down a bit, and then we take aside, there's nothing you need to take away. Okay.
Yeah.
That's already in the idea of doing, of having somebody who has to do something. Yeah. So you say there is right now something about this, like there is a belief right now that there is someone. How is that happening? How is that happening right now? How is that belief happening right now?
It's a story that if I do something, something other will happen. That I still have this agency.
Before you said that, how is that happening right now?
There was a thought before I said it.
What was that thought?
If I do something, something will happen. But yeah, I know the thoughts come by themselves. Now I'll blame you. Now I'll blame you. You brought me to the point where this thought came to me. You led me to this.
Hey, what's happening? How is that? How is that? How does that feel right now? Or what does that do? What happens?
It creates a confusion.
Okay. That's probably a good.
Yeah, and I'm sitting in this confusion now.
Nice, very nice. So so if we breathe with that and also just feel how it feels.
It feels fizzy and I'm accepting of it.
And would you say right now there is mainly a curiosity? If we just play with a sentence that goes to go further. So the reaction to the whatever that means, right? But to the sentence go further, the reaction right now, is it like curiosity? Or is it like kind of a sense of maybe discomfort or fear or resistance? Or like what's the reaction right now?
No discomfort, no fear, just like enjoying sitting in it and not even thinking about going elsewhere, just being here in this
Nice.
fizzy feeling and confusion in my head. Which
Nice.
confusion means there are thoughts, but they are flying around and I don't recognize them for what they are. I don't
Right.
see the content of them.
Right, and are you saying there's no clear sense of a producer as somebody who produces those thoughts?
No,
Mhm.
no.
Okay. Mhm. So what is the experience of self right now? Like as it is experienced right now?
Experience.
Mhm.
I have no idea what the experience of self is, but the thought that comes to my mind is I have no idea what self is.
Okay,
I have no idea what self is.
yeah, so we can stay with that. So there's no idea what self is. Would that mean that right now there's no clear experience that there is or isn't a self?
Yes, there's no clear idea. I have
Nice.
no idea what self is. So what would I look for? I have no
Nice.
idea what it looks like.
Mhm. Okay.
In general, not myself, but any
Mhm.
self.
Okay. So if we say the experience of self is if we play with saying it's the experience that there is someone here right now that can or should or needs to do the right thing, right? Or is getting it or not getting it. That kind of working definition. That's what's often.
This idea comes with thoughts because it was forgotten before you mentioned it now.
Right. So would you say before I mention it, there was not that sense that there is somebody here that is getting it or not getting it, or that was not there?
No, no,
Okay.
because the attention didn't go to these
Mm-hmm.
questions. There was no attention going to these questions. Maybe the questions existed, maybe they didn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
but the spotlight wasn't on them.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't here.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So when you rest is that you say there's not a sense of anything missing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for a short time, yes.
Did it stop? Did it stop now? Or like has it stopped?
No, I'm back to the confusion, which is fine, and I'm fine with the confusion.
Mm. What's the difference between confusion and openness? In direct experience right now.
I think, or I believe, and I'm completely aware how I started this sentence, that I have no idea what openness is.
Hmm. Mm.
I don't know what openness is. I don't remember having the experience of it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because we can all sometimes it can come down to how we use words and how we relate with particular words. So if we play with, instead of the word openness, we play with the word not knowing, right? That's often kind of right? So we can say, what's the difference between confusion and not knowing?
No difference. Not knowing is fine for me.
Okay. Mhm. And if we look at the felt sense that goes with the not knowing, the felt in the body, or just the felt sense, the vibe, the felt sense, is it like, if we say it's more like, it's like a comfortable kind of, well, my words might include open, comfortable, or more kind of constricted, fearful, gotta do something. What's the felt sense that goes with that?
In this instance, it's open.
Nice.
But there are others. I remember other times when I am looking up right away for some information.
Yeah.
But this one is okay because, okay, either me or something else decided for me to not to search for anything now.
You say.
The story that comes and it's sticky for me, it doesn't change anything. This is how it always was. And then a little tension comes that says, but I want something to happen. I want something to happen that makes me recognize this is now something else that it was before.
So it went from a space, right? And we could look into if it would be fair to say that that seems to just happen. That it went from a space of kind of not knowing, open, right? No sense of somebody who is trying or controlling or what even a self is, and that was there, and there was a sense nothing missing.
Yeah.
And then we might say habitually, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
Buddhists would call it the karma rolling, doing its thing, right? But whatever, blah, blah, different words, different language, right? Habitually came back a habitual thought, which was, you said something like, this doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
Something else needs to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see it as a thought. I see it as a thought that came alone by itself. And I see myself being able to say to myself, I don't have to believe it.
Exactly. Now, could you say all the same things just without the I? Like you're saying, I see that I see it, and I can. Okay, yeah. You see, you might as well just say it is seen.
I
It is
know,
not.
yeah, I know. It's
Cool.
just difficult to talk like this. It would be very unnatural to
Awesome.
talk
Awesome.
without
No
the I.
need to once it's clear.
Yeah.
Just checking if that's clear, because
It's the quickest to say it this way.
yeah. So once you see that, is anything missing now? Does it has to be something else? Does something else have to come?
I mean, of course.
What indirect experience says that something else needs to be realized for satisfactoriness to be there?
Oh, what is direct experience? Translate it, please.
In just what is felt now, what is experienced now.
The sticky thought, I need it to be something else. I'm not happy with the not knowing space of confusion. I need it to be something else. And of course, then the reaction that says, it's a thought, I shouldn't believe it, but at the same time, I shouldn't think this.
Shouldn't gets us down another track, right?
Yeah. It's all the same.
But again, you could look, one option would be once that comes, it's not satisfactory. I want it, at that point, one option would be to again look at what is doing that. Right?
It's
Just
nobody doing that. It's just playing in my head. It's
just playing
it's
out that way. That's the habit pattern. And then who knows, like, do you have some background in science or in philosophy or anything like, yeah, right. So if a lot of years have been used doing one's very, very best to be very stringent, right, in terms of logical argumentation, empirical evidence, and living based on that, right? So, so that's a strong habit in the system, right? That's a yeah.
It hit home now. This hit home. Okay, I am okay that I'm going to sit with it, that I'm going to watch this loop until I get bored of it. Thanks so much. You're on mute, Vince.
Yes. I said I want to clap. Mm.
Thank you. No, it's really, I think I see it now. I just have to sit with these things and let them loop and just take a step back, and I do see that it's not me planting my thoughts. I do see that I don't have to believe them. Everything is here. Everything is here. Like the table is set. I just have to sit down and eat.
Mm.
But when, who knows?
Yeah.
And everything's okay, actually.
See, the crazy thing is that we often approach this stuff with looking for the self and then recognizing that all of these other things rest on the foundation of a self. But you're weird. You're really weird because all those other things have fallen before the idea of self falls.
I said, I think I can do with the fourth and fifth fetter. I see
Yeah.
everything, no problem. It's so easy. I find it easy. But this self thing, it's stubborn.
And I think you hit on it. It will come to rest out of boredom rather than out
Yeah.
of proof. Yes.
Also, the sense here is, and who knows, right? But the sense here is that sometimes suddenly this seeing that it's happening by itself, suddenly it can just hit harder, so to speak. And when it hits harder, it's not something we're doing. It's just suddenly happened. Yeah.
What can be helpful, Maya, is to stop looking for a self, but recognize when an apparent self is creating a problem in your life. Because if there's no problem, then who cares if there is a self or not?
Yeah. I think I'm able to do this. I had at least one moment last week at work. There was some situation where someone was standing beside me and talking about things that are completely in my responsibility, and this person was completely unaware that they were talking about something they shouldn't talk about when I'm standing beside them. So it was really a good moment for selfing, and I did self. It was really felt. There was a sensation, there were thoughts, and I was watching them, and I thought, oh, great. how good for me to be able to see this. This is a situation where people would normally be hurt or something. Okay, I was hurt, but I was so aware of it, and I didn't have to say anything. I just looked, and I was amused actually in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so unimportant.
Yeah. And the fact that you were amused is the strongest statement I could imagine that suggests that a shift took place.
Yeah.
A discovery was made. Yes.
Yeah. And it was okay. And many other situations where I could self, or I do self, like a verb, I'm selfing. I do see them now.
Hmm. So then the next step maybe is when you see them, look for the connection thread. Look at the relationship to them, not rather than look at them themselves. They're almost irrelevant, but they're giving you the opportunity to look at what is your relationship to them, what is the connection to them,
Okay.
and that's the yeah.
Okay. Like, you mean like asking, when did I feel this before? And then wait for something. So where does it come from? Is this the relationship you mean?
No, I don't mean that. No, see again, that takes us back into the head, and we're looking for reasons and so on, and that actually does what Marius was talking about before. That actually solidifies identification with a self.
Okay.
Now, what I'm talking about by the relationship is that the thread is that much more subtle feeling underneath that says, this relates to me. This is a feeling of ownership, kind of a feeling of,
Okay.
yeah. It's a very
Okay.
subtle thread down to a remnant of the idea of a self, a
Okay.
remnant of a selfing, it's identification, right?
Okay.
It's a connection with.
I'd be very happy if I manage to do this sometime.
I will be too.
Well, thank you.
It's next level stuff, so in a sense
Yeah.
that we're talking about, it's much more subtle. Yeah.
But now when I mentioned the situation, as I was talking about it, I was able to feel it again. The feeling was there, the thoughts are there. So there is still something, it didn't dissolve completely. So there's still something to work with, taking to the lab, and I will
Hmm.
do it. I will do it later.
Yep. Yep.
I can still use it.
Yeah. So you can almost imagine like it exists as a path, and you come to a fork in the path, and on one side you go down that maybe to the right. In my imagination, you go down the right fork, and it takes you to the origins of this, what the conditions were that established it in the first place. But then if you go down the left path instead, now, so the right path becomes almost totally irrelevant. You go down the left path, and it is the glue or the thread or the whatever it is that connects you to that. And so the right path back to the origin of it is like a metaphorical journey into the past where it got established, and the left path is in the present.
Yeah, now, okay, you said something to me, and I said I will be so happy if it happens. Okay, I don't understand exactly what you mean. But on the other hand, I do understand what I shouldn't do, because this is how Marius said would be, okay, this would go into stories. Okay, I won't do that. So I have to do something else, but I don't want to ask you to explain anymore, because I think if you start talking to me, I will hook on your words and some stories. Let's
Yep,
let
good,
things
good,
unfold.
good. I
Okay?
like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see what comes up. Yeah.
I'm always in danger of hooking up to words and stories, so I don't want you to say any more about it to me.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's good, because that
Thanks.
that is a wordless path I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Hmm. So how are you, Jed? What are you up to these days? These days being the last 2 days or something.
Uh, um, well, I had a right old stress day yesterday. Uh, yeah. Um, about work. I think it's useful to lay it out to explain it.
Well, start with telling us how you responded. What happened in you as a result of that situation?
Um, well, there were two things together, and I think the first one, I just got really probably a bit panicky and trying to hold down the panic, I suppose, and trying to keep some awareness of what's going on and some separation. And I think I got quite worried that I was going to be perceived badly at work, that I was going to be pigeonholed in a certain way, or that I wasn't taking responsibility in a way I should, those kind of things. And
So your response was fear?
yeah, I guess so.
Or a version of that? Maybe anxiety,
Yeah,
worry? Yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah,
Did you see that stuff happening when it was happening? Did you see that it was happening? Or were you
I
just
think
lost in it?
a bit of both. I think I was going in and out of it. There were times when I was believing it and I was consumed by it, and then there were times when I could just relax a little bit and see it and just notice the kind of activation of my nervous system and see it from a bit more of a
Yep.
perspective.
So how did you feel about yourself when you came out of being lost in it, when you recognized that you had been lost in it? What was your reaction then?
I think I was really disappointed and frustrated, and kind of a bit worried about that as well, worrying about
Yeah.
not being able to
Setting off
manage it better.
on a on a self-fulfilling spiral there. So you were critical of it, and then you were critical about being critical.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does bring up a smile when you realize, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, okay. And did you get, were you critical of being critical of being critical of it? Or
No, I think I
did
stopped
it
at that point.
stopped at some point? Yeah, right. Good. Yeah. And when that happened, when that stopped, did you recognize that this wasn't something to be controlled? It was the old way kicking in, old habits, old conditioning coming to play, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, some kind of curiosity. I mean, more kind of curiosity, I suppose. Like, no, maybe I didn't actually get to the point of, oh, this is just all happening through me. I think I've been a bit stuck with disappointment and
Hmm. So what do you think now, right at this moment, about your disappointment? Are you disappointed that you were disappointed, that you were stuck in disappointment right
let me
now?
just turn this display down a bit. My phone's overheating apparently.
Is your video frozen or are you just being very still? Oh, your video's frozen.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah,
I'm
we're back. Yeah. Yeah, that was a convenient moment for your video to freeze up, wasn't it? Yeah.
Uh,
So do you remember
I
my
don't know if you got.
question? Did you hear my question?
Yeah, I think I was. I don't know if you heard me. I was saying that I feel a bit of tenderness and kindness towards part of me that got lost and had a difficult time.
Right, excellent. So no recriminations. There was compassion. Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you recognize the wonderfulness of the fact that that wasn't 100% that way, that there were those times when you were able to watch it happen, as well as those times when you got lost in it? Is that significant for you?
Um, you mean as a bit of a kind of progress, bit of
Oh,
a change?
I wasn't going to go so far as to create a story around it. But I guess you could call it that if you want. Yeah. But there was the actual description of what happened was that sometimes you got lost in it, and sometimes you were able to watch it happening. And it would seem to me that those times you were able to watch it happening, that was a pretty good sign. I like that. Did you appreciate that?
um,
Did you then, and do you now? Two separate questions.
um, I think at the time, yeah, I think I was appreciative of having a little bit of distance. Um, I think for me to, yeah, maybe that is that what you're asking? Is that the
Yeah,
kind of thing you're
yeah,
asking?
yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to go to what does it mean? You know, that we just get into storyland again then, right? Regardless of the fact that we will have a story in the back of our mind about what it means, probably, but we just won't focus on that. Yeah. So the fact that there were times when you were able to watch it suggests that is, how can I put it? That is an ability that is there sometimes, and we might
Sure.
even go as far as to say that it is one that is under development.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those times when you were watching it, there wasn't the invitation to be critical of the fact that you were lost in it because you were able to watch it. What was your reaction when you were able to watch it? How did you feel about the fact that it was happening and you could watch it? Was there a story there that said it shouldn't be happening at all?
Probably, or something like that, or at least I really don't want this to be happening. What can I do? Probably more focused on, okay, this is happening. Is there anything I can do to, to
Right. Okay.
calm myself
Yeah.
down?
Yeah. And what I offer you is that the best thing to do is to not do anything. So it's like it's a bit of an oxymoron, really, but essentially to say the best thing, you can't really do anything anyway, but by being aware of it, that little bit of distance that you've got when you're watching it happen puts it into a different perspective. And so what
Yeah.
we want to happen will happen without a doer, without agency. It will happen simply because of the first happening, which is that you're able to watch it. And watching it,
Yeah.
you can see how that metaphorically gives you some distance from it. It objectifies it a little bit. It's not a personal thing. It's not in you. You're not in it as much as you're outside of it watching it. And so that in itself is enough to change it. And so if you can
Yeah.
recognize that, then the next time it happens, instead of saying, what can I do to fix this? You'll go, I'm just going to watch this and see what happens. And guess what? Good stuff will happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've taken that on in lots of areas, since basically that has been a really big piece for me from hearing you and other people in the group talking about that way of being with our experience, our difficult bits. Yeah, I just got sucked into that one. And I guess it's one that has a particular large amount of purchase, like there's a lot tied up in it.
Yep.
So the thought of replaying that or happening again and just allowing it and knowing I don't have any agency and just being curious to see what happens.
Yeah. It's counterintuitive, so it's a little bit of a trick, but it's a good one. It's a really, really good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I did that, the first bit was like, whoa, try and control even that.
Yes, even that. Yes. Yeah.
But then, that, yes, I can kind of allow that to be integrated and then imagine or feel the kind of freedom that doing it in those places, even the scariest places.
Yes.
That's where the freedom lies, I suppose.
Yeah. And this is a crazy one. You'll even reach the point where you'll look forward to the next opportunity to test it out. You're frozen again.
I find myself cringe a little bit sometimes when we, and I do this myself, when we say something like, this will eventually happen, like you will eventually look forward to this. And then when that doesn't happen, that's a kind of a conflict already, because it's not everyone will experience looking forward to it, maybe.
Yes, I should be more overt about it being a possibility. But
Jed, yeah,
go on.
go ahead, Vin.
Oh, no, you go.
I just wanted to say to Jed, maybe also look at if there is any beliefs around shoulds and shouldn'ts around, way you behave or what you experience.
Yeah, definitely are.
Yeah. If we can just, and this is not as easy as it sounds, but I'm just gonna, if we could just fully accept that we freak out sometimes, then the freaking out it isn't a problem. It's just what's happening.
Mhm. I think where I got caught up in shoulds in that experience was, either I should be able to manage this, or I should be saying yes to this, even though I want to say no. Those kind of shoulds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we focused a little bit, possibly we could say too much. That's probably just a story, but we focused on how to be that will, the intention is just to not have these anxious moments occur. And what Marius brings to mind for me is the value of recognizing that when they do occur, that's just another occurrence. It's okay. It's not something to try and fix or push away or cure or whatever you want to call it, essentially. So there's two aspects to it, One of them is that we can look forward to them not happening as a result of not reacting to the situation at that pretty basic neurological level, if you like, that might generate anxiety. We can imagine that won't happen. But then if it does happen, there's another possibility that you can go, oh, okay, this is here again. And in a fairly calm way, be anxious. if you know what I mean. It sounds contradictory, but it's quite possible that can be there, and you can be okay about it being there. And it's no attention on getting rid of it or fixing it, just getting on with whatever else you need to get on with while it's there.
It's the identification with the happening. So something happened, and then that identification comes in and says, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But you didn't do that. There's nobody who did that. But there's a thought that says, I did that and I shouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's showing me where I'm still attached to that identity.
Mm. And Lorraine is saying that the anxiety doesn't mean anything, but when we're in the grip of it, we produce stories of meaning. How will they see me? How am I? I shouldn't be like, I should be different to this, etc. All very strong identification stuff. It's the I, So you can say, I am anxious, and without realizing it, you're saying I am anxious. But when you have this other perspective, you're just saying I am anxious, and then the anxiety just becomes a happening. And as unpleasant as it is, it's no different to breathing or the feeling of the wind on your cheek when you go outside. It's just the happening. It's not happening to somebody. It's not happening in somebody. It's just happening. And then, of course, it can change. I think your video's frozen again. How have you been, Lou?
Hi, Vince. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, I just resonate with everything that's been spoken today. And I suppose the biggest thing that's changed this week is I found some inspiration and creativity and energy. Yeah, just to move in a direction that I was probably confused about before. And like, I can't say that I came to any decision or logical conclusion. There's just so what I've noticed is there's just stuff happens, and there's ideas that come into the mind, like it just randomly. So I just started making notes, and yeah, it's just a really different way of trying to figure things out, so to speak. And so I then noticed that so I tried to take one of those threads and get into the old mode of doing and researching and blah, blah, blah. And it didn't take long before I realized that that was an old pattern. Like, so it was really obvious, the organic creativity. It was almost like it was almost too much, and it was like just ideas coming over and over. And that is not how I used to do things. It used to be very uphill and push and strive. Yeah, so there's just something coming through, and there's people I speak to. It's just happening. Yeah, the more I leave it alone, the more stuff is happening. So that was one thing. And then there was also a realization of some identification around my son, not my autistic son, but the other one, who is 15 and is starting to well, the words that come to mind is like he's growing away, like he's not a child anymore, and he doesn't want to be with me so much, and doesn't want to do his what he wants to do is changing. And so I just been noticing how reactive or internally I have been to I just noticed that there's a very small moment of taking things personally, and then that kind of softens, and the little stories that start up, like, oh no, I'm a bad mom, and then the future, is never going to want to blah blah blah. It's crazy. It's actually really crazy. Yeah. And just as Marius said something before about that acceptance of whatever response that we have, is I recognize it when he said that. I hadn't seen that as it was going on. I had still got sucked into the feeling. I thought I had seen something. But how I see it now is there's no wonder, with all the conditioning and all the circumstances that occur, and just, no wonder a mum would react that way. I think it's perfectly normal. And so there's a realization that I had a belief that I was immune to some of this normal life stuff. So it happens, but there's not so the difference being is I'm not locked into the it's like I'm not in the vice. I can see the vice, but I'm not, I've got the keys. No, it doesn't sound right. Yeah, it's just an experience. The whole thing's another experience of being a parent, of being like it's a gift. Like it's a gift of being a parent and worrying and like it's I don't know, it's just got a sense of freedom to do those things without getting too bogged down in that's me, that's who I am. I'm a mum and the other thing is just noticing the most of the time just going about daily life is just doing and then noticing the appearance of the yeah the me, the I, this is mine, this is so I'll give you an example. I had to do I did an AA share this morning. I did a AA share, and at the beginning, because you share your story about your past and stuff, and I found almost it's like there was a little blank piece when I said, "Oh, this is just my story," and there was a moment where like I just knew that wasn't for me inside, and it's not out there, but I knew I was putting on a cloak of this is me getting on stage and having to play the game. So there was that. Yeah, just that in and out of just happening, doing, being, and then this is mine, this is me. Yeah, just that flow of like it's to me it just seems in and out. At this time it just seems like it's in and out. Yeah, I was playing paddle tennis today, and it was there's a real moment of presence when you're just about to hit the ball, and then what I noticed is then you're in another, then you're just not in, it's not about me, then it's this, I don't know, something really, I just noticed it was all very connected, I don't know, it sounds really strange, but I just felt that in and out of the game as a person, as not a person, as a player, and then I'm in an individual, and yeah, it was just quite interesting just watching that play out. Yeah, I don't know if any of that makes sense.
Yeah. So I have a story that you're discovering roles and letting go of roles.
Yeah.
And one of the roles is being a person.
Yeah. And it's not like I can see that can't see that I see dropping anything, but it's the implications of something deep, knowing that's what seems to happen. Yeah.
Well, it would be easy to imagine that the biggest implication would be experiencing freedom or liberation, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, more, I would say majority of the time that's the feeling, even when stuff happens. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, good. It all sounds good. You're in a good place. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I don't have any. It's just something that came up that I'm also playing with, Louise, is this in and out of person, as you said. It's just, I find myself being very curious around this self-reflective mechanism. So sometimes there isn't any, there's just this. And then sometimes there is some kind of mechanism that can reflect on what is going on. And that is the subtlest form of selfing, I think, or this is where I'm at. So it might be even more subtle than that, but that's where I'm kind of finding the curiosity these days. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know what to do about it, but it's or
Yeah.
there's nothing to do about it, but there is a curiosity around it.
Yeah, I get that, and it's still got that. For me, it's the ability to reflect. No, it's confused. That there's a contraction deep inside still that is I don't know if it's expression or whether it's a wanting to understand sometimes. And that's the subtle distinction I was trying to explain about this project that's happening. Is there's a very slight distinction between where that's coming from, and
yeah,
you can go down that little route for a little while, and then it becomes really apparent that that's so. Just start again. Yeah, and the other, you talked about reflection. There's even in the AA meeting today, I'd say there was the first time when I was in that Zoom, there was, gosh, 30 people on Zoom, and I felt very, very comfortable. I felt very, very settled, and just not, there was no, nothing mattered. I just showed up and spoke from the heart, and as people spoke back, there was, and I don't know if this sounds really strange. It's almost like tracking inside. Like as people spoke, some people I could feel that it was here. One person, I had a pain in my left leg, and on other people it was, you know, from here. This is very subtle tracking, and so it was listening to them, like part. It was like shared. It was like part of it was listening with the body, and part of it was listening with the mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly, or I imagine I know exactly what you're talking about. For the listening from the mind, I find very painful. I've spoken to Vince about this a couple of times. I can, it there's a physical tension when I listen from the mind, and if I do that for a long period of time, it becomes painful.
Yeah. Yeah, I have experienced that with the contraction. The contraction just comes here. It's like, come back here, come home. Yeah, it's like the there's so when when I listen to a conversation, there's a lot of intellectual stuff. It's like for me, there's a compassion for that happening there, but it doesn't, there's no pull to have, there's nothing that I have to I don't have to contribute. And it goes back to I think what Scott was saying, that why do I offer to do all these things? Why do I want to help? And I've been looking at that more and more, like what is the motivation between, and sometimes it just comes out without me. And then I go, what did I offer to do that? But this acceptance that just whatever's going on here is just what's going on, and that's going on there. But there's a lot less need to dip my fingers in other people's pies now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like, it seems like really nurturing, like really kind for me. Because it's not been, yeah. And it's the same with, goes back to my son. Like I've realized how much I operated from guilt and shame around my children, and it's probably not going to help them growing up. So yeah, there's just a bit of a shift going on from where this stuff is coming from, and yeah, it's almost like the less you do, the more you do. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I had the thought today that a lot of the stuff that, a lot of insights along the way seems to, there was a belief here that a lot of them, okay, I've seen the insights, so I'm past those insights. But then they come back again after one round, let's say. And then there's the same insight, but from a deeper level, in a way. I can't explain it, but so it's become more and more clear that, and I said this, I knew this before, this is never done, but it's much, much deeper than what I understood that to be. Yeah. So I've been in the fire for the last couple of days.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Let us know when you're cooked. We'll take you out.
I feel pretty crisp at the moment.
So what about you, Lorraine? I recognise that I never ask you. I just always just presume that everything is wonderful for you for some reason.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at the minute. I think I'm just recognizing the spiral that you talk about, Marius, as well. It's like that. You go around. I think I had the beginning of the week or last week. There was a sneaky lingering of self or attachment to having no attachments and having
Yeah,
no
that's a
desire and
tricky
having that.
one.
And I was like pretty shocked when I seen that one. I was like, bloody hell.
Yeah,
It's sneaky. So there was that came up. But it feels as if every time I have like a shift like that or I see something, it creates an opening for something else. And I've been sitting in the I am a lot. In the middle of a what's his name? Rupert Spira retreat this weekend. And just having some real deep or deeper realizations. I've been around like, the first time around it's all about the self, but this week I'm just realizing the absolute nothingness of anything. And then seeing that imagination is only arising and so is perception and experience. And then questioning, is it, there's just this knowing. Yeah, it's just like another level of nothingness. Like just seeing absolutely everything appear as an image or a sensation. I don't know how to explain it. It's just it's much deeper realization.
mm,
But
yeah,
it's good. I'm in a good place.
yeah, that confirms it for me. Yeah, words just don't work, do they? The nothingness of everything. I get it. It's not describable, but yeah. But the little threads of somethingness that sneak in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that show up. They don't kind of, yeah, maybe they do come in. Maybe they're not there and then they are, rather than they're always there, just hidden. It could, yeah.
It was almost like you said earlier when you were talking about, I think it was the words arrogance and conceit, the arrogance of you to think that there was no identity there. And it comes back and it's like, wow. um, but it's subconscious. It's absolutely subconscious until it's not.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that's, I guess, in a way, that's one of the things we're doing. We're making the subconscious conscious and then pissing it off or something. Yeah. Not making it, that's not the right word. And neither is subconscious or conscious the right word, but you know. Mm. Well, you look like you'd rather go to sleep than speak, Bianca.
Hmm, I'm sleepy. I talked with your chat with about not knowing and clarity. So I reacted to what Maya was saying. Yeah, for me, it is about feeling. Knowing is like being settled, being grounded, having balance, and not knowing. No, there are some things that I don't know, but I know it's fine. So I know something. I know it's fine. But sometimes I don't know if it's fine or is it not fine. I don't know anything. And it feels unsettled. It feels like pulling from the inside, and this pull doesn't have any concrete direction. It's like body losing balance and trying to catch it.
Mm. And how does that feel? Does that feel uncomfortable for you, or are you okay with that? It feels uncomfortable. Mm.
Yeah. And the chat, of course, congratulated me. You're falling. Stay in the falling. And I said, why would anyone guide people to this place? It's awful.
Yeah.
That's the place to be.
It's awful.
It's only awful till it's not.
No, it's just uncomfortable. Not awful.
But yeah, but it's crazy, isn't it? Because we have this. Some people go, not knowing is a terrible place to be, and other people go, it's a fantastic place to be. Is there a difference between that not
But
knowing and that not knowing? I feel great relief in not having to know, in not knowing. Feels freeing to me.
It's because it's the wrong word. It's not really about knowing. You know, I don't know what is the capital of Zimbabwe, and it feels fine. I'm completely comfortable with it.
Uncertainty, maybe.
Yeah, more like that. And it's undecisive, that the mind can decide.
Indecisive.
Yeah, but it's pulling toward some decision.
That is the very mechanism that keeps you in illusion.
How?
Because it wants to, it keeps wanting to grasp onto something, and that something that it will grasp onto is illusion. It's not real. It wants to grasp onto something certain that isn't certain. It's a imagination.
For me, it just wants a feeling. And feelings.
I don't get what you said now.
It wants this feeling of being settled.
Mhm. And that's what's
It-
driving its mechanism. That's what I'm saying. So if, for you to always want to feel settled, you will always be drawn to grasp onto something. Some kind of explanation or meaning or something that feels safe and solid.
I suspect that's an outcome, that the real aim is to avoid the feeling of being unsettled, uncertain, and that the outcome of trying to avoid that feeling is that we grasp and look for something that we imagine will make us feel settled, will give us that feeling. And what Marius is saying is that what we're grasping for is an illusion, or maybe, I don't know, my words would be that there is no such thing as certainty. It's only ever imagined. Nothing is certain.
I don't know. We have a saying: a drowning man grasps a straw.
Yes, exactly. And he'll still
But
drown, won't he? Yeah.
you can't help it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's that's the trick, isn't it? Can it be helped? So if we talk about you can't help it in that from the perspective of doing something, I mean, spontaneously you'll go for anything that will give you um, to give the drowning man flotation, anything at all. But of course, he's going to drown a lot quicker while he's flailing around looking for something than if he relaxes and floats.
I can explain how it's actually how it's experienced here. So there is the mind trying to grasp onto something, and there is a noticing of the mind doing that. So it's like a fire that sees what the mind is doing, and it's burning away all the things that the mind is trying to attach it to. And eventually, it's eventually the mind just gives up because it all the stuff that it can attach to gets burnt away right away. So there's an automatic seeing of every grasping, and that, in my experience, becomes increasingly relentless the deeper I go.
So would you say that at a certain point there comes the recognition that there is no point in grasping for because whatever you are grasping for is not going to be there when you reach out for it.
Yes.
And that's the point of acceptance or whatever, when it stops happening and the feeling changes.
Yes. You let go and drown. I recognize that I'm a bit stark today.
I was going to say stop struggling and float, but letting go and drowning, that's, wow, that's pretty dramatic. Yes, yeah.
I don't know if
Hmm.
this, sorry, Bianca, do you mind if I just,
No. Good.
it reminded me of, and Vince, Marius, or anybody, if I'm on the wrong track, but when you talked about burning the, whatever you said, Marius, just working through, when I did an inquiry about fetter 4, about the once, and looking at the sensations by Declan, before the want, catching that sensation, catching that moment before the want, and really getting into that, and then, you know, then you've got that what you want, and then looking at that sensation. That to me reminded me of that burning, it's very uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable. I'm just trying to get into it now. But that uncomfortableness becomes more comfortable, if that makes sense. It becomes more of a friend, so to speak. And then the noticing of that sensation is more apparent, because actually, surprisingly, what I was quite surprised at is that the sensation is quite similar. It's not that different, whether I want to feel different, or I want a biscuit, or I want to avoid something. That uncomfortableness is just recognized more. I don't know if any of that makes any sense. But like, eventually, each time I just recognize this is it again. We're going on the same roundabout again. So the story is very different. The wanting, the grasping is the same. Is different. Sorry, the story is different. But what's underneath is very familiar now. Yeah. So when you said, Marius, that the mind just eventually gives up, like, that's not happened, but I can see it's got less input. It's got like less energy to make a noise, to make such a noise. Yeah, I don't know if that relates to what you were saying, Bianca, but yeah, I just recognize something in what you said.
I wanted to say right now, I don't know if I grasp for something and I can see it, but I grasp something, and or is it that there is nothing left to grasp, but like body drowning, it's still flailing around. Even if I know there is nothing to grasp, it's the mechanism going.
I don't know too.
Hmm. Maybe you have to keep flailing until you get really tired.
This flailing part is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
For example, I'm not saying that you did that now, but if there was a desire or a attempt to get an answer from us that this flailing is going to stop, or at some point, like if there is a something in you that wanted a validation or confirmation about what you're experiencing, that is an example of grasping.
Mm. But no, I know you don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I will flail my mind till the end of my days. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah. And maybe one day you'll find you're not doing it anymore. Who knows? That's right. Mm. Okay, well, I'm going to pull the plug in a few minutes if anybody else wants to say anything.
I found one. At least I know I'm flailing. It's a mechanism. It's
Well, there
just
you
going
go.
on.
It really reminded me. I took my son, my autistic son. It's called iFly, where you go in a wind tunnel and you have a simulation of skydiving. And the lady said to him, when you go in, you just relax. You relax. You're not swimming. A lot of people want to swim. And of course, he forgot that. He got in there and it's such a strange sensation that he's just trying to swim like that. And that's just what it reminded me of. But yeah, you just go in and relax and yeah, enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. You good, Anton?
Thank you.
Thanks for
Yes,
being
thanks.
here.
Right.
It was interesting, the last part of the talks. I saw that everyone is talking about the same thing in a different way.
Mm.
And from my side, it seems like it's what's happening is that I less and less understand or know how things are happening. Like they are happening, and I understand. Like I tend to tell to myself less what is it that is happening, and so it becomes the bad experience, and good experience becomes more and more sane with time. But it seems to be like it's taking time.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no rush. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, everything happens in its own time. That's right. Or out of time. All right, everybody.